Hi guys, this is Lashette from Scarlet Moon Creations and I am back. This is, I guess, a recent read 78, I think. Wow. And I'm talking about the first half of the books I read in the month of May. And it's good because I'm feeling better about my reading this month. I say that because I'm reading what I want. I'm reading my anticipated releases. And maybe a little bit of June. But June, I think, will be more 2022 anticipated releases I didn't get to. We shall see. It may not seem like it, but my window is closed. And it's raining, so there's not a lot happening. However, usual disclaimers for the nice weather part of the year. There might be ambient noises because people are noisy. I live on a main street in New York City on the first floor, and the window's right there, even though it's closed. So, let's talk about some freaking books, as Jasana would say. The first book I finished this month was Spy Family Volume 6. And I love this. I gave it 4 stars. One of my favorite volumes in this so far. So Spy Family is a manga, a shonen manga. And we're following this family of convenience. We're in this fictional country that has a spy, Twilight, and he's known for doing undercover missions. And his latest mission is infiltrate this very elite school. To do that, Twilight has to get a family. And so he picks up a child from orphanage and does not realize, and because she's a child, he doesn't tell her he's a spy, but he doesn't realize she's a telepath. Then he makes a deal with this woman to be his fake wife, not knowing that she is an assassin. And things go from there. Anya, the daughter, while telepathic, realizes her parents are something. But being so young, she doesn't quite understand exactly what their jobs are, real or fake. So there's a lot of ridiculous hijinks because what kind of scenario is this? But that makes it fun. They are slowly growing closer as a family, and I love that for them and for me. And the world politics are becoming a little bit more clearer. In this volume, we have a sort of new character introduced. She was introduced in the previous volume, and she might have shown up in the background of others, but I don't remember. Anyway, she didn't become important until here, Nightfall. They have a sort of side mission. This was hilarious. I really enjoyed this volume because several of the chapters had the same plot going with them. The tennis thing, which was absolutely ridiculous, but I also cannot wait to watch the anime of this because I can just picture it in my head. I've watched too much anime. I could picture it in my head, and I know it's gonna be even funnier with movement. This came on top in my manga bracket, so if you're wondering, I'm almost done. I've already requested the other volumes. Next, I finished something with a completely different feel, though a similar medium. This is March Book 3 by John Lewis, Andrew Aiden, and art by Nate Powell. Yes, this is a graphic novel. This was part of the April Reads for the Realm of Comic Book Club. This is a nonfiction. It's kind of a graphic biography of John Lewis's life, but we focus mostly on his participation in the civil rights movement. The words just left my brain a second. His participation in the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s. I talked about the first 2 volumes in my April wrap up, and this was the final one before the live show. I didn't finish it because I just wasn't in the right headspace for it. This is the most violent of the 3. Bloody Sunday and the events leading up to it are included in here. It's also a little sad in a different perspective, because the CNCC that John Lewis was part of starting you can see the threads slowly coming apart all this time. I believe it's been a decade, and it's gotten bigger. People are not on the same page anymore, and it is what it is. Also, obviously the civil rights movement has been going on for a while now, and the violence, like I said, has been more and more every time, and it continues. And these people are beaten and spit on and raped, and degraded and not treated like human beings, basically. And the fact that they kept going is something that is admirable, and I appreciate every single one of them, even those not named, because they weren't famous or named shortly because John Lewis didn't know them very well. I just really respect and appreciate all of their efforts, because I would not be doing this today if not for them. That being said, I also rated this 5 stars. I learned more about Bloody Sunday. I have to say I have not watched Selma the movie, and I know that there's been other accounts and history books. It definitely was taught to me, but I didn't remember the details. And I know that the media, when it's talked about in general, it's very quickly about 1 day or 2 days, and it was more than that. We get a little bit more of the aftermath of what happened after they made it to their destination, and it wasn't over. It's not over. There is another book that I want to read, but I'm going to give myself a break. He has Run, which I think is being published in multiple books, graphic novels as well. I want to read that, but like I said, I'm going to give myself a break. I mean, it's already been a break. But like I said in the previous video, I am also reading and listening to the 1619 Project, which is a lot all on its own. So, yeah. 5 stars. Read it. I want to read Run. That the civil rights movement didn't end on Bloody Sunday. It didn't end when Black people got the right to vote, and changes were made to our laws and Constitution about, allowing people of all races to vote. But still, some things change, some things stay the same, and it always feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. As long as we keep taking those steps, though. Okay, the next book I finished this month. Again, switching things up. This wasn't a plan, but I really wanted to read this, and I saw it at the library, and I was like, I need something kind of cozy. Witchy Volume 2 by Ariel Slamet Rees. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that properly at all. So I read Volume 1 last year, possibly for Graphics-a-thon, possibly for 30 and 30 manga, even though this is a graphic novel. This is actually, because I don't think I remember mentioning it, this is a webtoon, or it's on webtoon, and the author is slowly releasing physical copies, and I don't know if I'll wait or not. I'm not a big webtoon user, but I have used it, so I might. Next update might come from that. But anyway, this is volume 2, so look at me sort of completing a series up to date. This is like a fantasy, I guess. Yeah, it says fantasy. So, we're following a young girl who's in this fantasy world where the strength of your magical ability is shown by the length of your hair. She lives in a country, though, that has a military, and the current rulers have decided that everybody who has strong magical ability, aka long hair, has to be incorporated into the military service. However, they want to keep themselves in power, so they do quietly get rid of those they think might be more powerful than them being the rulers. Anyway, when she's a child, she sees her father basically get killed in front of her, his hair cut off, and she never sees him again. So she decides in her grief that she will never join the military service, and she will always hide the length of her hair. And so she's been doing that. However, she goes to school. At the end of school, when you graduate, they have to take this magical test to see if they can join the military. She's been hiding it all this time, but she gets caught out and decides at the last minute to cut off all her hair and run away. She finds out that things are more complex than she was aware of because she's a child, or she was a child. This story, the artwork, first of all, is very cute. Let me find something that's not spoilery. I just really enjoy the artwork. The coloring, it doesn't need to be a lot. It's just enough to give you the mood. This kind of gives me a Pixar feel. Like, oh god, I forget what that movie was with the emotions that we saw inside the girl. Kind of like that. Both the art style and the story type. Like, this art kind of seems like it would be very soft and squishy and cute story, very simple, but there's heartache in this. There is danger and a little bit of violence, and it has me very interested. I wound up giving this 3.5 stars. 3.5 stars because not a lot happened in this volume versus the previous one. This kind of felt like a filler, but given that the story is mostly written in webtoon, probably in chapters on webtoon, and it's quite honestly far longer than this already, I'm not really holding that too much against it. I still liked it. It's just a lot of things happened in the first volume. Comparatively, nothing happens here. Okay, the next book I finished was my first in a while full-length novel fantasy, high fantasy at that. Wait, does this count as high fantasy? Now I'm questioning my whole being. I read an anticipated release from last year, actually, The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson. This is a book 4 in Mistborn Era 2, making it book 7 in Mistborn series as a whole. This is the last book in Mistborn Era 2, and whoa boy. So it's very funny because I've been watching poor Becca from Becca with the Book struggle through Mistborn Era 2, hating it but wanting to read anyway to find out for herself like the connections with the overall Cosmere. And yeah, so I think I was a little bit hesitant just because I'm easily influenced. I'm not even gonna lie. So other people's moods, the moods of books, like life, it influences me. And so yeah. How did this go? I gave this 4.5 stars because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I understood everything that was happening. I think I saw somebody else mention that like this is like completely Sanderlands, the whole story, and I could see that. Maybe after part one. Part one is like, the setup, and then from there it's like go 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 go. So I get it. I kind of wanted more obvious implications for the Cosmere, but I figure the next Cosmere books will give me that. Mistborn, back to the first Mistborn book in Era 1, The Final Empire. We're following this man, Kelsier, who pulls together like this band of people to try to overthrow this evil leader of their world. And it's kind of a heist type book slash high fantasy things. And I really enjoyed it. Things very much changed throughout that. In Mistborn Era 2, we're several hundred years, I believe, in the future, but not like a modern day world like ours. Obviously, it's a fantasy world, but they're more in westernized. And talking to my Asian friends, I realized that when I say Western and they say Western, when I say Western, they think of something else. So when I say Western, I mean like cowboy type things. That's what Western genre means to us in the US. Cowboys and Indians, living life out in the Wild West, shoot 'em up, duels at dawn type thing. And this kind of sort of started like that. But this, in the first book of this series, but it has gone beyond that now, I think. This book had a lot of surprises. Because it's been a couple of years since I've read a book in the Cosmere, I was concerned I would not understand the Easter eggs, I guess, or the hints for future things in other Cosmere books. But I think I got most of them. There's a couple, literally 2, I want to look up, and I'm just like, I'm very curious to find out what happens now. I'm also curious to find out what kind of world Sanderson has in plan for Scadrial. So one of the things, as a Cosmere reader, I'm really bad at is remembering the different planets. The names come up and I'm like, what's that? Where's that? No idea. Anyway, he says he's going to have a Mistborn Era 3. I'm very interested to see, like, where are they going to be at with their development. The whole thing with the Malwish, I'm definitely like, well, that was a cliffhanger, that little plot line, because those people have to have something under their sleeve. And then, well, what's his name coming back on an airship? I'm suspicious. I'm suspicious of him anyway, because why are you being such a busybody? The characters, okay, I cried. How could I not cry? And now that I'm thinking about it again, I feel the burning back in my eyes. Oh my god. I'm upset. I'm not as upset as I was. I got to page 450 of this book, and if you own it, or if you know the pages, you know. And I was reading, I was like, no, this is not happening. I put this book down for a whole day, because I was like, no. I was about to go to lead a ritual, And I was like, oh, you know, I bring my books with me everywhere. I can read it on the train. I was like, no, I can't. I cannot deal with this before that. Uh-uh. Uh-uh. No, 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 no. And I had watched earlier that day Queen Charlotte, the last episode, and I had already been crying. So, but my heart, I might talk about it in the mid-year wrap-up, but I'll definitely talk about it at my end of year whatever. It's because, oh, I got tired of holding that up. Just the book. Everyone says it's the best out of Mistborn Era 2, and I agree with the caveat that without the first 3 books, it would not be. There's just too much built on those first 3, the way they are, for this to work so well. There was a plot line from the first book that I completely forgot about, and I thought was either basically solved or I guess unimportant, and turns out no. Things were very convoluted with what the bad guys were doing and why. I still like everybody, like the main characters that we're following, Wax and Wayne and Steris and Marcy. I like how their characters grew and changed their character development in this book a lot. I think Wax changed the least or grew the least, but that's not, you know, a bad thing. But I don't think this book is perfect. There's a lot left up in the air, more so I think than with the last book of Mistborn Era 1. And I think that kind of detracts, but also it's like, well, the Cosmere. I don't know if I agree that this is something, if you haven't read all of the Cosmere, you would really like. If the first 3 were on their own as they were for so long, I could see someone just reading those and probably being content. But this one has so much, to me, connections to other series in the Cosmere. It's like, nah. If you read all 4, you definitely need to read other books. Before this, not necessarily. But after this, you're probably going to want to, unless you really didn't like it, and then it's just like, I'm done with Sanderson's Cosmere. So I think that takes away a little bit. So that's I enjoyed it, though. The last book I want to talk about, I finished recently, actually, and was an anticipated release for this year. This came out in March 2023, and I've been having it in my home since then. And that is Smolder by Laurel K. Hamilton. This is book 12, I believe. Oh no, shoot. I'm thinking about the wrong series. Book 29 in the Anita Blake series. This is the urban fantasy series. One of my all-time favorite series. Actually, I should just say it is, because the other one I need to catch up a lot on, and the author kind of went through some things, so she had to pause for a while. I'm a huge lover of urban fantasy, and this series is why. There are maybe 2 or 3 others that really cemented that for me, but this is the one. This is the one. I've been reading this series since I was a teenager. Not as much time has passed inside the books, but I'm okay with that. I have enjoyed this series when many have not. The series has gone through a lot of changes. The characters have, Anita in particular, has changed a lot as a person. And like, my disclaimer is always, I'm a fan of this story. I like the characters. I like coming back and seeing where they are And even if the plot is not perfect, I really enjoy this series. That being said, I give it 3.5 stars. And that's not a bad rating. But this felt like it ended on a cliffhanger, and I do not appreciate that. There's one thing Lower K. Hamilton does is give you a concrete ending. It's quite often too short, like 2 pages, but it wraps everything up. Nothing in this is wrapped up. And I was thinking this is the first time she's done that, but I could be wrong. It might be that she's done this before, but I don't think so. I'd have to reread certain books that I'm thinking about. It's not a sudden cliffhanger. This is kind of the setup for the next book, and it better wrap something up. The reason why I say I don't think she's done this before is because, yes, while in previous books certain plot lines might not have been wrapped up in one book, they might have continued on to multiple, it wasn't everyone, right? So being that it's urban fantasy and being what it is, let me just tell you what Anita Blake series is about. Okay, so we're following Anita Blake, who is living in modern day St. Louis, and she is a necromancer. It's an innate talent in this modern day world. Vampires are out, were-animals are out, people are somewhat aware of the Fae and other human magical users like Anita. So Anita is living her life, only working, occasionally helping the police with magical cases, as she is a U.S. Marshal for supernatural things. She gets, because of these cases, tied up into the local St. Louis magical community, and it becomes really personal for her. I feel like I'm explaining this horribly. Like I said, we are at book 29, and Anita has changed a lot as a person. She was very much a loner. She was definitely the not like other girls type. I don't like girly girl things and am on my own. She wasn't dating. She wasn't having sex with anyone or anything like that. It was just a kind of very dry life of solitude. Though I respected her reasons why. She knew herself, and she always knows herself or is learning more about herself. She went through a lot, and I just like seeing her change and grow. I also like her significant others. Yes, that is plural. There is, at this point in the series, polyamory all over the damn place. And that includes with vampires and were-animals. And when I say were-animals, I don't mean just werewolves or were-lions. Okay? Not everything is pretty. Not everything is sexy. It gets quite violent. And, yeah. So this series quite often has 2 or 3 plot lines going on. There is the kind of romantic, semi-sexual, depending on which book you're looking at, plot line, the relationship plot line. And then there is the supernatural plot line of whatever's going on with Anita or whoever she is with, that kind of thing. Or potentially who she's fighting. This can tie into the next, which is the case plotline, the police figure out the mystery type plotline, or the bad guy, catching the bad guy, I should say, because that is sort of kind of her job. One is being a U.S. Marshal for supernatural things, and the other is raising zombies. So she is called in as an expert almost every book for these things. Those cases don't always wind up being the main focus of each book. Sometimes it's relationship, and sometimes things are all related. Like, you know, real life things, one thing affects the other. I don't know why I'm talking so much. However, With this one, none of those plot lines got wrapped up. The relationship aspect definitely ended on a cliffhanger. Like, a major thing happened metaphysically on that supernatural, metaphysical plot line, and then we went to sleep. Understandable, but like, now what? Then the case, like, that got brought up, and then, it is tied into the supernatural, but we talked about it with those in the know to try to figure out what to do next, and what to do next was eventually done, but now what? I'm really upset because this book ends with this pseudo cliffhanger and a sneak peek from the next book that's coming out this year in November. So we'll see what happens with that next book. Quite honestly, I gave this 3.5 stars. Let's be real. I didn't hate it. I liked it. For those who read this series, this does have two really big, elaborate sex scenes in it. So if you're one of those people who really is just not here for the books that are more heavily sexual, then there's your warning. Because if you don't know, now you know. It's all on the page. And like I said, polyamory, non-humans involved. Then this is not just heterosexual either. Lots of kinks as well, though I don't know that they really showed up in this particular book. The other big detraction from this is that two characters who are immensely frustrating have returned and have big parts in this. I thought we were done. Especially with one. I thought we were done with Richard. And having him and Asher here is so frustrating. Like, that's how tied to these characters I am. I'm frustrated for them having to deal with this. That's the last book. I was writing my review, and I'll say it here. Like, I feel like I need to give a disclaimer about my frustration. I'm not frustrated with the book and the writing style. I'm frustrated with the characters in the story. Like, some other characters are, like, damn near every other characters. I'm not in these relationships, but it's just like, particularly because of Laurell K. Hamilton's writing style, where she will have you go through the conversation. They do work on things verbally, and it's hella frustrating. And it's necessary if we're going to be realistic to real life, but also really frustrating in real life. Like, you gotta negotiate things. And then when you're talking to people who are not cognizant of the issues they have, it stalls everything. Because it's like, nah, you can't assume with these people. Because you assume one thing, and then we already know from previous books, being in a relationship with them, that they are on a different plane. And so you have to stop and have the conversation so that we understand each other. And if not, we draw the line in the sand. Like, you figure it out or you go. And we've done this several times. So, I guess if you've been in a relationship like that, you'll understand. If you don't want to read something like that, do yourself a favor and maybe only read the first 10 of this series then. I'm in it forever. That being said, that's the last book I read in the first half of the month. Things are going great. I've already started the next book. I've still got plenty sitting here from the library. If you guys saw my short about recent library haul, that was from March. And I've just been renewing those books and requesting new ones. Still reading slowly those nonfiction I mentioned. And now I'm thinking about the title, and I'm just like, smolder. No wonder not a lot happened here. If you want to support, leave me that little flame emoji that helps me with the algorithm. If you don't know what to say, I was thinking about doing videos about the Anita Blake series as a fan. Since I read it right after The Lost Metal, and I know people do all kinds of content for Cosmere books, I don't know if anyone cares. Oh, I know this kind of urban fantasy is really not popular nowadays, so it is what it is. I still really enjoy it though. But yeah, guys, like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you are new, hit the notification bell so you know when the next video is coming. Links in the description to everything I mentioned here and every one. Included in those links are my social media accounts. If you'd like to follow me on anywhere else or be my friend on Storygraph or Goodreads, you can do that. Links in the description. There's also a 10% off discount code to my Etsy shop where I make all natural bath and body products for witchy and mundane purposes. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.